There is a belief quietly living inside many hearts, and it shapes everything we see, everything we chase, and everything we fear losing. It is not loud. It does not announce itself, but it whispers in moments of pain and longing. It says that your life, your worth, your peace depend on something other than God. Maybe it is a person. Maybe it is a dream. Maybe it is an outcome you keep praying will finally arrive. And so I want to begin by asking you gently, what is it that you believe you cannot live without? What is the thing your heart clings to when it feels afraid? What is the thing you think will finally make you whole? Many of us are walking through life carrying quiet disappointments, prayers that were not answered in the way we hoped, doors that closed when we were sure they would open, relationships that ended, even though we begged God to keep them. And slowly, without realizing it, we begin to form a belief. We begin to believe that if only this had worked out, then we would have been okay. If only that person had stayed, then we would have been happy. If only that dream had come true, then our life would finally begin. And so the heart attaches. The heart tightens its grip. The heart forgets where true safety lies. I want you to know something. Your pain is real. Your disappointment matters. Your tears are seen. But the belief that your life was meant to be built on something temporary is the very belief that is breaking your heart. Because anything you build your identity on that is not eternal will eventually leave you empty. This is not a punishment. This is mercy. Is God gently teaching the heart where it does not belong? There is a difference between loving something and relying on it. There is a difference between having a goal and worshiping an outcome. There is a difference between wanting and needing. And the heart becomes heavy when it confuses these lines. Because when you rely on something created to give you what only the Creator can give, you place a burden on it that it was never meant to carry. And when it collapses, as all created things eventually do, you collapse with it. Some of you are exhausted, not because you are weak, but because you have been holding on too tightly. You have been trying to control what was never yours to control. You have been gripping an illusion of security, believing that if you just hold on a little longer, if you just sacrifice a little more of yourself, then you will finally be safe. But safety does not come from clinging. Peace does not come from control. Healing does not come from forcing life to look a certain way. There is a story so many of us share. We set a vision for our life. We imagine how it should unfold. And when reality does not match the picture in our mind, we feel betrayed. We ask, why me? We ask, what did I do wrong? We ask, why would God take this from me? But what if it was never taken? What if it was returned? Returned to its rightful place? What if God was not breaking your life, but breaking the illusion that something else could be your savior? This belief that your happiness lies somewhere in the future or inside another person or behind a certain achievement keeps you perpetually restless because the heart was not designed to live in suspense. It was designed to live in trust. And when trust is misplaced, anxiety takes its place. Fear begins to speak louder, and suddenly, life feels like a constant test you are failing. I want you to pause here, breathe, and ask yourself honestly, where does my heart go when I am afraid? What do I run toward when I feel empty? What do I believe will rescue me? Because whatever your answer is, that is what you are worshiping. And worship is not just what you do on a prayer mat. Worship is what you give your hope to. It is what you give your fear to. It is what you give your sense of worth to. And here is the truth that can feel both terrifying and liberating. Everything other than God is unstable ground. Everything. People change. Feelings fade. Circumstances shift. Plans collapse. Even the strongest love between human beings is fragile. This is not to make you cynical. This is to make you free. Because when you stop asking creation to be God, you finally allow God to be God. So many hearts break, not because they loved, but because they relied. They relied on someone to stay forever. They relied on success to fulfill them. They relied on control to protect them. And when those things failed, they felt abandoned. But God was never absent. He was waiting for the heart to return home. There is a deep wisdom in unanswered prayers. There is a protection hidden inside delay. There is a refinement happening in loss. Not every door that closes is a rejection. Sometimes it is a redirection. Sometimes it is a rescue. Sometimes it is God saying, "This will hurt now, but it will heal you later." The belief that is keeping you from the life you want is the belief that life is supposed to be painless. That faith means comfort. That surrender means loss. But true surrender is not losing everything. It is losing what was never meant to own you. It is the heart loosening its grip so it can finally breathe. When you believe that your peace depends on things going your way, you live in constant fear of them going wrong. But when you believe that your peace comes from God, you can walk through uncertainty with steadiness. You can face endings without being destroyed. You can begin again without bitterness. Because your foundation is no longer shaking with every change. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to trust God more than the outcome? What would it feel like to say, even if this does not work out, I will still be okay, not because you are strong, but because God is enough. This is not resignation. This is empowerment. This is inner peace rooted in faith. The heart was created with a capacity for attachment, but it was also created with a hierarchy. God first, everything else second. And when that order is reversed, the heart suffers. Not because it is sinful, but because it is misaligned. And misalignment always creates pain. You do not need to stop caring. You do not need to stop dreaming. You do not need to stop loving. You need to stop believing that these things define you. Your worth was written before any of these things entered your life. Your purpose existed before your plans. Your value does not rise and fall with outcomes. This is an invitation to gently examine what you have been holding too tightly, an invitation to place your trust back where it belongs, an invitation to let God carry what you were never meant to carry alone. Because the moment you release the belief that something else is your source, you make room for true healing. You make room for clarity. You make room for a life that is not driven by fear, but guided by faith. And that is where peace begins. It is okay if this realization feels uncomfortable. Growth often does. When the heart has been attached for a long time, detachment can feel like grief. You may mourn the version of life you thought you were going to have. You may grieve the certainty you once felt. Let yourself feel that. Faith does not ask you to numb your emotions. It asks you to bring them to God. Because when you do, even the pain becomes purposeful. Remember, God does not remove things to punish you. He removes them to protect you, to elevate you, to realign you with who you are meant to become. And sometimes the greatest gift He gives is not what He places in your hands, but what He takes out of your heart. So be gentle with yourself in this process. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are being guided, even when it does not feel that way. Especially when it does not feel that way. Trust that the heart learns through experience. Trust that clarity often comes after confusion. And trust that when you let go for God, you are never left empty. You are filled with something deeper, steadier, and far more lasting than what you released. This is the beginning of inner peace, the quiet strength of knowing you are held, guided, and never alone, even when the path ahead feels uncertain. Always supported. There comes a moment in every journey of faith when the heart is asked a difficult question, not spoken aloud, but felt deeply. Will you trust me even when you do not understand me? This is where transformation begins. Not when life makes sense, not when prayers are answered quickly, but when the heart learns to rest without guarantees. Because faith was never meant to be a transaction. It was meant to be a relationship. So many people believe that if they do everything right, life will reward them. That if they pray enough, believe enough, struggle enough, then pain will be exempt. But that belief itself can quietly distance us from God, because it turns Him into a means to an end instead of the end itself. And when life inevitably brings hardship, the heart feels confused, betrayed, lost. But God was never absent. He was inviting you deeper. There is a profound difference between trusting God for something and trusting God with everything. The first still holds conditions. The second releases them. And it is only in that release that the heart finds freedom. Because when your trust is conditional, your peace is fragile. But when your trust is rooted in God's wisdom, even loss cannot steal it. Some of you are carrying shame for how much something hurt you. You tell yourself you should be stronger by now. You should be over it. But attachment leaves marks. When something becomes too central in your heart, its loss can feel like losing yourself. And that is not weakness. That is humanity. The healing does not begin by judging yourself. It begins by understanding what the heart was searching for all along. Often, we do not attach to things because they are bad. We attach because they make us feel seen, chosen, secure, valued. And when they are gone, the ache is not just about what left, but about what it represented. That sense of worth, that sense of belonging. But those were never meant to be outsourced. They were meant to come from your relationship with God, from knowing that you are already chosen, already held, already enough. There is a quiet strength that comes when the heart finally says, I do not need to be saved by this. I do not need to be completed by this. I do not need this to define me. This is not detachment born from bitterness. This is detachment born from clarity, from realizing that love does not require ownership and trust does not require certainty. Sometimes God allows the heart to break open so it can finally receive what it was closed off from. A heart that is too full of the world has no space for the divine. And so life empties it, gently or painfully, but always purposefully, not to diminish you, but to expand you, not to weaken you, but to deepen you. You may look back and see moments you thought were failures, relationships that ended, opportunities that slipped away, versions of yourself that did not survive. But if you look again, with honesty and humility, you may realize that those moments were shaping you, teaching you discernment, teaching you reliance, teaching you what truly lasts. There is a subtle shift that happens when faith matures. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you begin asking, what is this teaching me? You stop resisting pain at all costs, and you start listening to what it reveals. Because pain is not meaningless. It exposes where we are attached. It shows us where our trust is fragile. And in doing so, it points us back to God. The heart that has learned this no longer panics at change. It grieves, yes. It feels, yes. But it does not shatter, because its foundation is not tied to outcomes. It is anchored in purpose, and purpose does not disappear when circumstances shift. It adapts, it grows, it transforms. This is where inner peace begins to take root. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of trust. A trust that says, even here God is with me. Even now, He is guiding me. Even this will pass through His wisdom before it touches my life. And that trust becomes a shield, not against pain, but against despair. You are not asked to understand everything. You are asked to surrender. And surrender is not giving up. It is giving over. giving your fears, giving your timelines, giving your expectations, saying, I will do my part and I will trust you with the rest. This is the balance of effort and faith, action and reliance, growth and grace. As you step into a new year, or a new chapter, or even just a new day, carry this with you. You do not need to force clarity. You do not need to rush healing. You do not need to have it all figured out. What you need is alignment. Alignment between your heart and its true source. Let go of the belief that your life begins when everything falls into place. Your life is happening now, in the becoming, in the waiting, in the learning, in the trusting. And God is not waiting for you to arrive somewhere before He loves you. He is present with you here. When you release what weighs your heart down, you make space for peace. When you stop clinging to what you cannot control, you regain your power. When you trust God more than your fear, you discover a strength you did not know you had. This is life transformation, not outwardly at first, but inwardly. And from there, everything changes. So be patient with your heart. Be kind to your process. And remember that every time you choose trust over fear, surrender over control, faith over despair, you are stepping closer to the life that was meant for you. A life rooted in purpose. A life guided by wisdom. A life held by God. If this message touched something in you, share it with someone who needs it. And stay connected for more reflections that support healing, personal growth, mindset renewal, and inner peace. You are not alone on this journey, and you never have been.